Hi everybody, welcome to the ice cream frame build. So again, we are going to be using the 8x8 20x20 centimeters. You need to get all your bits and pieces out, just like on the previous frames, and pop everything to the side. As always, we're going to start working on this bottom part here of our frame. Now, I will be using a white frame for this, and I have already started building this. So I'm going to show you as far as I've got. So to show you, what I'm going to do is I've just cut some cardstock. So mine, it's exactly the same size. So mine might look a little bit lighter and obviously a little bit flimsier than yours. And because I've already used the inner part already, this is the white part of the frame I'm going to use. So obviously you can buy them in white like we mentioned before. So if you are wondering why mine is a different colour or a little bit flimsier than yours, that is why. So this way, at least then I can sort of pop all the prints onto here, show you how to build the counter, and then when we get up to the point when I'm ready to pop my frame on, we can then revert back to that. So just before we start the build, I just want to explain just a couple of things. So your back print and your top print will come like this. So what you will need to do is get a ruler and a Stanley knife, or use your scissors, and follow the border all the way around. It will be exactly the same on your top print as well. You will see where you need to go. And then trim all that off. This white square that you see inside fits perfectly along the top. Obviously, once we get the shelf on, you will see as we go along with the build, it will come sort of like further down. And then you will have a small gap at the bottom. So once we put the inner part on and the main frame, you will not see this inner part. So as you are building your shelves, just keep referring back to your perspex, just to make sure that you are putting your shelves on the inner part of your brickwork. Otherwise, this perspex will not fit on your main counter. So with all that being said, let's get started. So the first two prints out of your kit is this one, which is the top part. Then you've also got this one with a white square. This is where we put our ice cream counter. And that's obviously going to sit on the bottom. I'll just move these out of the way. So first of all, we're going to take the top print. We're going to use our PVA glue as always. Lay this along our print and adhere that there. We're then going to take the bottom part of the print, line it up to the bottom. This will then overlap just slightly, but as long as you've gone all the way around your frame like this. And that is just the two back pieces we need to stick on first. So you should now have your top and your bottom print on like this. Obviously mine's going to be a lot more see-through because I'm only working on cardstock, whereas yours is going to be wooden. So mine might bubble up, but it won't on your normal print, if that makes sense. So next we're going to concentrate on this white part here, and we're going to sort of like start building the shelves. So out of this is the most difficult part of this build, but I'm going to try and explain it the best I can to make it a lot easier for you. So we now need to find the wider lollipop sticks. So just before you start gluing all this together, you might want to paint these just like the previous frames, or like me, you can put it all in together and then paint it all afterwards. It's completely up to you. I have on the previous one that I've obviously already started building, I kept this wood bare. I just thought it quite looked nice, but again, you might want a different colour, but you will see the end result when we get to that stage. So we need some of these, so we need one for each side, and then we're also going to place a shelf on the top and then two in the middle. So let me just grab my sticks. So you will need 5 larger sticks to start with. And now taking your white print, we're now going to mark 3.5 centimetres down and make a little dot. We're then going to mark from that dot another 3.5 centimetres down. So that will give us 2 guides of where our first little shelves are going to sit. So I've done mine in pen so you can see. So I've gone from this white here, 3.5 centimetres, made a dot, 3.5 centimetres from that line to this line, done exactly the same on the other side, and then just joined my dots together. So this is where our shelves are going to sit. So you can use your glue gun for this part, because obviously we do put clay inside, so you're not going to see the back part of your sticks. So taking your first wide lollipop stick, we're going to line this up on the white piece, make a mark each side of where it ends, and then trim those off. You're then going to do exactly the same for the shelf as well. So you should now have 2 shelves that sit inside this white box here. So now I'm going to get my glue gun, just run it along this edge here, and then I'm going to line this stick up with the line I have just drawn. So let me do the first one. So you're just going to place that on your line. So don't worry about any glue overspill, like I say, that all gets covered with your clay. And then we'll do the next one. So keep your frame flat as always, it just makes it easier for you. Line it up. Obviously on my other one I use pencil, but I just wanted to show you it's going to stand out a bit better for you. Just so you can see the line that I've done in pen. So we now have our 2 shelves on. So again, you might want to go ahead now and paint these before you get all the other sides on, or do it all afterwards, or before. Like I say, it's completely up to you. The easiest way you find it. So next we're going to put on the sides. So now we've got these 2 pieces in, before we add the sides, obviously if your back piece is dry, you can flip this over now. Like I say, I'm using a cardboard box from Amazon. You can obviously trim off all the excess. And then you want to get your insert. Obviously I can't glue mine in, because like I say, the white frame, this already comes white. But obviously if you are using the bare wood, again, you might want to go ahead and paint that, just like we did with the Wonka frame. So this now has to sit inside, because this part of the shelf sits on this lip here. So if you don't put this part on and you've misjudged it, you will not get this part in. So I'm going to try my best, because obviously I'm not going to glue this. So again, you might want to go ahead with your tacky glue underneath and adhere that all together after you've trimmed everything. So I'm just going to sort of like place that on the top. So we now need 2 more sticks. The first thing you need to do is trim off both ends of your sticks, the rounded part. And then we're going to turn these upside down using our flat piece. Just pop that on the bottom of your frame. Let me tip you this way, you might be able to see a little bit better. So we're going to push this to the bottom of our frame. Then we're going to make a mark where this white line ends. You're going to do exactly the same on the other side with your other stick. It is best doing it this way, just in case your frame is slightly out. You don't want one shorter than the other. So, you know, if we do it sort of like measure it, always measure per stick as you go. And then again, we're going to mark that line there. So I'm just going to mark those and just trim those down. Next, we're going to glue these sides in. So one's going to sit upright like this, and then the other one is going to sit upright like this. So because this is going onto our print, we are now going to use our tacky glue. This is the one that I have been using throughout the other frame builds as well, and it seems to adhere fine against the cardstock. So I'm going to use this one. So I'm just going to run my brush along this edge here. Just pop a little bit on this shelf here, so when that sits, I can push that together. And then do exactly the same on the other side. So I'm just going to glue these bits in. So you should now have a frame that looks like this. I don't put any glue at the bottom, because obviously your main frame goes over the top. And the more glue you add, the more we've got to sort of like wipe off, and you don't need it. So this is as far as we've got. So next we're going to put a shelf on the top. So again, we're going to take a stick. I'm just wondering if that's going to be, one of my cut-offs is going to fit, and it doesn't. So let me just grab another stick. Still working on the larger lollipop sticks. You just need to trim the end to start with on one side. Place this on top of your shelf, just so it sits on that corner. And then with a pen, you're going to mark on the, not on the inside, on the outside. So let me, obviously my frame is still drying as we're doing this, so let me just flip you here. So place that on the top, grab a pen and you're marking it on the outside. You're then going to trim this piece off. Then this should sit nicely on the top. Let's flip you this way again so you can see. So what you'll need to do now is just add some tacky glue on each end or on the edge of your shelf, whatever you find easiest. And then just place that and do that and let that dry. So I didn't say, but you don't need to run the glue at the back of this lollipop stick and stick it down, because obviously we have built a box, so it's got a lot of support. With obviously the Wonka frame, it went right the way along, so it just needed that support gluing at the back. So you don't need to do that, just on each edge like this. So now I'm going to take these next two shelves and we're going to find two smaller lollipop sticks. So what we're going to do now is build like a little box inside where our clay is going to sit for our ice cream. So these are the thinner lollipop sticks. So again, we're going to cut off the rounded edge first. So next, taking your lollipop stick. Now these should more or less fit perfectly inside, just by cutting off the rounded edges. As you can see, we're not going over the top because we've got perspex to put on this later on. We're just going to sit it on the inside. So I've only got a tiny little bit of the rounded edge here. So I'm just going to trim that. You're then going to do exactly the same with your other one. So that sits inside here. So again, just trim off at this edge here and this edge here, as close to the sort of like lip as you can get it, sort of like the half circle. And then that should sit straight inside your frame. So I'm just going to trim these off as well. So I'm going to run my glue gun along this edge here, and then I'm going to sit that inside this lip here. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So these lips just sit flush with this edge here. And to help you along the way with your flavours, you will find two of these in your kit. These do not go on the inside, these go on the perspex, which I'm going to show you shortly. So what you would do is just place these on the top. So you can start with your mint choc chip or vice versa. I think I did the mint choc chip first on the other one. Again, I'm going to be careful with this. So I've done it so we have 4 scoops on each shelf. So we now need to grab our clay. So we'll do the mint choc chip and then obviously you can carry on and do the rest. I'll just pop you up on my stand and grab my clay. So this is the foam clay we will be using. It is white, 500 grams from Amazon. You know how it works. I'm sure you've built so many things with all your clay. So starting with the mint choc chip, I'm just going to get, you don't need a lot, so just sort of like judge it to think you've got to put 4 squares inside these little shelves that we've built. So I'm just going to take sort of like a ball size. Then I'm just going to grab some green paint. I've just grabbed some, this is Christmas green acrylic paint. Just make sure, as always, you condition your clay first. And then because we're only working, you know, on a small little piece, I would suggest taking the lid off this and getting a cocktail stick. What you don't want to do is open the lid and sort of like squirt some paint in there. You'll get far too much and your green will be far too dark. So taking a cocktail stick, I'm just going to dip into this paint. I'm just going to place just a little bit because obviously we are working on a white base as always. So it's going to lift a lot lighter. So I've only put sort of like a couple of dabs in there, and then I'm going to mix all this clay together, which is going to give you a mint colour. I will obviously run through when the other frame comes into shot of all the colours that I use for paint, just to help you out, just in case you are unsure what paint to use with what ice cream. So as you can see, that has gone a really nice mint now. Now I'm going to bring you right in, lift up the camera just so we can see the inside of our shelf. So again, just use this sticker as a guide of sort of, you know, how far along you want to go. So I know, you know, you might always want to make a mark as well if you want to, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So we're sort of like going to go over on this area here. So let me show you inside. And I'm just going to take the tacky glue and just dab it just on the inside of where my clay is going to go. So let me just grab some now. Just put some on a brush. Just tap it. Doesn't have to be at the back. Just, you know, your clay will stick to wood, but it's just to sort of like help it stick a little bit more, that's all. So I'm only just popping it on the bottom where I want my first part of clay to go. Next, with your clay, you're going to roll it in a sausage and then just squeeze it. We're then going to place this inside. Obviously, if your shelves are still sort of like drying, pop your finger underneath while you squish your ice cream down. Oh, my frame. The outside of my frame is going to collapse in a minute, I'm sure. And then just, again, just take this. You might want to shift that up slightly with your finger or the end of a cocktail stick or a little skewer. Like I say, once you get the next one in and then the next one, it sort of like all blends together, so you don't have to separate these. Just try and keep them, you know, in a little square as you go. Okay, so now we're going to add some texture. I've just taken the same skewer that I added the paint in earlier, and we're now just going to rough up all the edges, just making it look like ice cream. So you might want to get all yours in place and then do it all together, or do it separate. I think I did mine separate on the previous one. So bearing in mind this clay does swell, so don't be scared to get it right underneath and pull it and then push it back down again. And then just work all the way along, pulling up your ice cream. And then we're going to add some little chips. It is so cute. So for the chips, there's a couple of ideas I want to give you. So the easiest one is your acrylic paint, which I'm going to use. You can also cut up some cinnamon sticks and then pop your little chunks inside as well. You can also use your little caramel sprinkles, you know, your little Fimo sprinkles, and then just put those into place. But I'm going to be using the dark brown acrylic paint. So you just need to screw off the top, get your cocktail stick, pop some paint on there. Obviously I've started this already. And then you just need to just sort of like dab inside your clay. And then just pull up and just blend those in. So we're still trying to keep the sort of like rippled effect on the top. And that is the easiest way just to add your little chocolate on top. Obviously you're not going to see this rim here because we do put a sticker on the front. So I'm just going to push that down slightly. So now what you'll need to do is go all the way along, just keeping this as a guide of what colours are coming up. Again, I will go through these colours once the other frame is in shot, and I'll show you the, well, you know, I can discuss all the different colours that I used to mix these together. So again, you're going to mix up your vanilla, your chocolate, your raspberry ripple, do the same on the other side, making a little sausage, popping some tacky glue inside, giving it a bit of a squish, poking that down, pushing it that way, using your cocktail stick and fluff everything up. And then your shelf should be full of ice creams. This is such a fun part. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a shelf just on this part here. So this is going to be the smaller lollipop stick. You might want your shelves, you know, wherever you like. So again, I'm going to take this darker colour here, line up my stick, trim off both rounded edges, and then I'm going to use my tacky glue just on this lip here. I'm showing that now because I know I have done that on the previous frame. So I'm going to stick that on there, and then I'm going to flip you down and we're going to build the little ice cream machine that I made. So this is the ice cream machine that I have made. It's so cute. So you're going to fold along this white edge here and along that white edge there. I've then created a back piece. So again, you're going to fold along this edge here and this edge here. You don't have to score these, just like we discussed with the Wonka bars. It's just easier just to sort of like fold these. You'll see where you need to go just by taking your top as a guide. And then we're going to fold this over as well. So this is the back part of our machine, and this is the top part that sits over the top. I'm so pleased with this one. So we're just going to put a drip tray in because we need a drip tray on our ice cream machine. So you need to grab your thinner lollipop stick, which is this size, and again we're just going to cut off the rounded edge. We are then going to measure just the bottom part here on our folds, so from there to there, and then just make a mark like this, and then we're just going to trim this edge off as well. Once you've cut this to size, you will now need to find this little drip tray which comes in your kits. Pop some tacky glue or PVA glue, either or will work for this one. It's just to sort of like make it sit flat, and we're just going to glue this on the top. I've ended up with gold paint on the inside of mine. I don't even know where it's come from. So next what we need to do is run some tacky glue along the back part and both edges. We're then going to sit that on this lip here of the front of our soft serve. You're then going to fold these edges over, which is going to adhere to your glue. Just make sure when you do this that you've got no wood exposed at the front. So let me just inline that before I glue it. Like this. So I've just added my tacky glue, and I'm just using this top part on the inside as a guide. So I know I don't need to go over there, but otherwise it'll be exposed. So you're best sort of like keeping it flat for this part. Lining it up just below this little white frame, and then taking your little fingers, we're just going to squeeze that together. Once everything is in place, we are now going to grab the back part of our soft serve. We're going to run some tacky glue on the inside of this lip, inside of here and inside of here. Once you've got all your tacky glue in place, you're now going to take the top part, place this over the top, and then you're going to line up the sides, fold in your bottom piece like this. So we're just creating a box, and attach all that together. So whilst that is drying, I've just sort of, like you see, my frame is not even attached, so all my ice creams have collapsed. But you will get 4 ice creams. These will vary in colour. You might get 2 of one of the other, but I will try and give you at least 1 of each colour. I've also printed a little menu which I'm going to stick in this corner, and then I'm going to adhere all these ice creams at the bottom with my glue gun. Now you might want to design something else. It's just what I've done with the previous frame. And I know there is a shelf up here, like I said earlier, but I haven't glued it. There's no point me building any more to this. So once you've done all that, we are now going to revert back to the original frame that I did. We are now back onto the original frame, and like I said earlier about the shelf, I've put the soft serve up here. Obviously, if you put it up here, it's going to cover some of your print and down there as well. So I have designed this to go into this corner. So the next part, after you've glued all your bits and pieces in, is to put the Perspex on the top. So this is your Perspex square. So there is a film on this which you will need to peel off on both sides. And then using our glue gun, because obviously this gets covered with print, I'm going to run my glue gun just along this edge. So I don't want my glue gun too far up, because obviously once I sort of place this over the top, I don't want all my glue spilling out. So just keep it to the bottom part here and this bottom part here. So my Perspex is now on. Let me just show you up close. This is where my glue gun was placed. And now taking these, which is what we used to align all our ice creams. These are on sticker paper. So you just need to peel these off and then align these over the top of your shelves. So I'm going to take the first one here and the second one down here. Both my stickers are now in place. So now what I'm going to do is pop on my main frame. So I've now placed on my main frame. I had to sort of like take a break because I am designing this as I go. I know I'd got up to this point. So I've just designed some boxes, so I think we're going to build those next. So I've tried to design these as simple as I can get them, because obviously you don't want to do loads and loads of folds in your boxes. So you will get 2 of these little ice cream cones, and then you will also get 2 flake boxes as well. So let's fold these together. We're going to use some sellotape for the back of this, because obviously you're not going to see the back of this. It's going to be glued onto the counter or on the shelf, depending on where you put them. So let's do this one first. You will see where you'll need to fold. So you need to fold along this edge here, and you're just going to work all the way around your box. Fold the yellow part. Fold this yellow part. And this one, so we're just working all the way along the yellows. And then you're then going to flip this one over to the middle. And then this one also over to the middle. So you should now have it all folded like this. So for this design, to make it easier, rather than having to fold this tiny line and tuck it into your box, you might get sort of like an odd shape. I've made these slightly longer, and you're going to see why in a second. So first of all, we're going to use our tacky glue and just run it just along this edge and line up both of your yellow pieces. So it is easier to dip a little cocktail stick just to go along these edges because they are so small. So I'm just going to tap this along with my cocktail stick. And then we're just going to line up our yellow pieces. So I'm just going to wait for that to adhere to itself. And then the top and the bottom, just flip this open and just run some tacky glue again with your little cocktail stick just along there and push that over the top. There will be a lip which we're going to cut off. It's just so much easier building them this way. And again, flip this over, just pop some tacky glue just along there and then squeeze this together. Once that is dry, you will find a little lip on both edges. Just get some scissors and just trim this excess off. I have now built a super easy comb box. So there is another one of those to build, so I will do that in a second. So next we're going to do this print here. So you're going to fold along this edge here, fold along this edge here, fold down your back piece, which then forms the bottom. You're then going to fold along this top line here where your flakes are. And then fold along here where your flakes end. So you should have a bottom, a top and two sides. Next we're going to flip down this top, taking this print here, we're going to work along this edge and fold this around. You're then going to do exactly the same on the other side, so just follow that little cutout there and fold that around. You will need to pop your finger just inside the box, and what I've done, you can either overlap this first one over the top, or you can overlap the second one over the top, depending on what you prefer. But obviously you're not going to see the back of this print, it's just so we can see it sort of like from the side. So we're just going to get a tiny little bit of sellotape just to pop over this join, because that way it'll just hold it all together rather than having to glue both sides with our tacky glue. So a tiny little bit of sellotape just on this join, it just holds it together. So my sellotape is now in place. So I'm just going to pop my finger inside the box, and then I'm just going to use my cocktail stick, just poke it inside. I'm not bothered about the sides, just on this front piece here. And then I'm going to squeeze that together. Once that is glued together, you now need to flip this upside down. There is enough, if you want to fold this edge here and place it inside your box. Again, I just think it's a lot easier to do it this way than having to fold in this little tiny edge. So I'm just going to run some tacky glue all the way along this rim here. I'm going to fold that over and just keep it squeezed together. I'm then going to trim off this excess with my scissors. So once everything is cut, you should have an adorable flake box. I've gone ahead and built my other box as well. Like I say, you'll get 2 of these and 2 of these. So I just need to build that other one, which I'll do shortly. So now we're going to carry on with the main frame. So we are now back onto the main frame. I'm now going to add a shelf along this top part here. So you might want, again, as always, you might want to put your shelves in different positions, but I just want it just so it sits along the top of the little ice cream print. So I'm going to use the thinner lollipop stick, so it's the smaller width, because I don't want it all sort of like coming out. I do want sort of some adjustment. So what I'm going to do is cut off the rounded edge as always, lay that flat, mark where my shelf ends, and then trim that off. I'm then going to glue that just on the top of this sign here. So whilst my shelf is drying, we are now going to find 3 prints. So it's this one, and this one inside our kit. So these are my 3 prints. You might not want to do the 3D effect that I'm going to show you. You might want these elsewhere, but I do think that this back part looks, you know, quite flat. You might want to put some shelves in the middle of your signs. Like I say, it's completely up to you. I just feel like I've got quite a lot of shelving already going on, and I think if I add any more, it's just going to look far too full. So taking these prints, these are exactly the same size as the ones you see on the back, and then you will need to grab a straw. It doesn't matter what straw you grab, any will do. We're going to squish this straw down, just to sort of like make it flat like this. Just going to bring you up a bit closer. And then I can use my glue gun for this. I'm going to cut a piece of my straw just to sit in the middle of this sign. So you can measure it up with your fingers or a little pen. Snip it where you want it. And then using my glue gun, I'm just going to pop some on the back here. I'm then going to place this over the top of this print. Then taking the matching print, I'm then going to add some glue gun onto the front of this straw, and I'm going to line that up over the top. And what that has done is give us a 3D effect. So this sort of sign stands right out, which brings all the frame together. Obviously these are into your print, so like say, you know, they are there just in case you don't want to do that. But I just feel like that top part just needs just something a little bit extra. So again, I'm going to measure my straw from here to here, place it right in the middle with my glue gun. This one hasn't got the white border on it or the outer. So this is going to sit just inside that white border there. And then the same with this menu here. This has got a blue border on it. This one hasn't. I just help, you know, the frame should help it sort of like pop a little bit more. And then I'm going to glue that onto there as well. So all back signs are now in place, and as you can see, it's sort of like stood out. It just makes it so much nicer for it to sort of like be 3D. So next we're going to take this top part of the frame and also make that 3D as well. So next you will find this drip, which is exactly the same as the drip that I've put in this back piece here. So I have had a play about with it. It didn't look right going right to the edges of the frame. So you will find, let me hold this up here and then bring you up close, that this will inline with this back part. Can you see how that drip inlines with this? And you will have about 1 centimetre either side of your frame. So you can place this at the top of your frame if you want to. I just feel it's sort of, the frame is a bit distracted from the actual 3D effect. So I just wanted to show you that, just in case you decide to put it up there. That's what it actually looks like. So I'm going to align mine at the bottom of my frame here. So normally what I would do is run my tacky glue right the way along this edge. But because I know this is going to be square, I'm going to run my tacky glue right the way along this edge rather than on my print this time. And then I'm going to make sure everything is square, line everything up, and place that over the top like this. My drip is now in place, and then you will find 2 waffles. So obviously you will get a pair, so there will be the same colour. This is the first one that I chose out of the bag. So these are the whiter ones. You might also get the sort of like the darker yellow, or you might find the sort of waffle colour in your bag. So everyone will match depending on what you find in your bag. So because these are the ones that came out, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my glue gun, and just this edge here, I'm going to place these at an angle. So I want to take the top part of my waffle and this corner edge here, and I'm just going to sit that over the top and then do exactly the same on the other side using my glue gun. So next you will need to find this ice cream print. I have designed it to go in the middle part here. I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you was to place this above your print or below your drips, in this corner here, or in this corner here. So for obviously I'm designing this, I want this to go in the middle. I feel it looks better just sort of like going over this drip here, but like I say, you can lift this up. So what I'm going to do is use my glue gun on the back of this, align this in the middle of my waffles and my drip, and I'm going to place this over the top. So after you've glued in your sign, next you will find in your kit 2 pink love heart little lollipops. All kits will contain pink. You might want to drip some resin over this. We've gone through it before with some glitter. I'm going to keep mine plain. And each one of these is going to sit on the corner of my waffle. So I'm going to put one over here and one over here. Obviously I'm going to use my glue gun, but you can also use your tacky glue. So everything now on this top part I am happy with. Let me just bring you up closer. So I've just stuck these on the edge. So next we're going to go back down to this counter and we're going to find this drip which matches everything else. And we're going to place this just around this top part of the counter. Obviously I am building this as we go. I just feel it needed it. You might not want to put this on. You might want to sort of like cut it down and pop it on your shelf. So one here and one down here. But I have designed this to go on this top part here. I've just moved you up close. So taking this little drip, what you're going to do is we're going to measure it first, because obviously I always sort of like go over just in case your frame is slightly out. So I'm going to sort of like grip that with my finger, run it along my counter and then make a bend on this corner here. And then take my finger up to this edge and just sort of like score that with my nail. That tells me the excess I need to cut off, as you can see. So I'm just going to trim that off with my scissors. Just before I do, I just need to double check. And then what I'm going to do is run my tacky glue along this shelf, just the wood part, right to the end. Trim this little piece off here. And then adhere all that to the top of my counter. So as always, I tend to start with the bigger pieces first. So you will have in your kit 2 glass jars, and these do come filled like this. So you will have some little chocolate balls and some multicoloured balls with the stopper on. And I want these either side of my counter. So just like the Wonka frame, if you are putting these on a shelf, just make sure that you use your glue gun underneath and at the back. That way when you push it onto your shelf, it'll adhere and stop your shelf collapsing. But I do want mine either side of this counter. Next we have our boxes that we built earlier. So I feel I want maybe a flake here and a little cone box over this side. And then on this shelf here, maybe another flake and another cone box. So I'm just going to have a play about with these. I do quite like the placement of this. And then once you are happy, you can obviously use your tacky glue for your boxes. I would advise using your glue gun on your glass jars. Like I say, they're a lot more heavier than these little boxes. So my frame is now complete. Everything is still drying. I did go ahead and print an extra 2 little bits to go into your kit. So it's this print to match the back and this other print as well. So these will come included. It is so adorable. So there will be an extra piece on this video of the colours that I used in my ice cream. If you are interested, then you can keep on watching the last part. If not, I really hope you enjoy the build. Cannot wait to see what you create. Goodbye everybody. The colours I used for my ice creams, obviously you saw me use the bottle green for this one. Vanilla, I just added a tiny little bit of yellow. This is buttercup yellow. You can use any yellow. The chocolate, I went in with a dark brown. So if you are wanting it this dark, obviously you're going to have to paint it over the top. I just left it, and as you can see, it's sort of like lifted a couple of shades lighter. The Raspberry Ripple, I ended up adding just a tiny little bit of dark red. Mix that clay to get sort of like a ripple effect. So I didn't mix the whole thing like we normally do. Obviously, you know, as you keep mixing it, you'll get sort of like a swirl effect. And then that's when you need to stop to get that effect. The cookie dough, I used cream. And then again, just went with my cocktail stick just inside with the dark brown, just like we did with the mint choc chip. The strawberry, again, I added a tiny little bit of dark red and mixed that together. The bubble gum, I just used a standard blue. Unfortunately, this doesn't have the shade on, but it's just like a navy blue. And then for the rum and raisin, again, I went back in with the dark brown. And then for the little chips on the top, I went in just to some black acrylic paint with my cocktail stick. Goodbye, everybody.